Best of R / Tales from Retail episode 141. Subscribe for edit videos daily. We'll get there, eventually. About 15 years ago, I contract delivered for a home improvement store. Think orange or blue but not. People paid the store to have us deliver what they couldn't take home themselves. I hauled a lot of bricks and unassembled swing sets. Even got to haul 3 gallons of paint to someone who'd been shopping on their motor scooter. My employer got paid based on the distance from the store. I was ordered to call the persons I would be delivering to before I left for the run. I often had 5 different orders on the truck miles apart. Did so for 2 months. People didn't much like being called that early on a Saturday. Many seemed to understand. It stopped one Saturday morning. I called a customer at 9 AM to deliver cabinets. I'd actually use a van for that run, but since I was heading out with the flatbed, I was told to call ahead anyways. I didn't get to their site until after 3. Because I have a soul, I had called the customer when switching trucks to let them know that I was coming with their load. They hadn't been waiting all that time. Just barely gotten out of the van when the customer started in. "You called at 9 AM but don't get here until 3. I stopped him and said, "Not my idea. I think it's stupid too. Here's the store's card." Store manager was pissed. My dispatcher was supposed to have been calling the day before to let the customer know I'd be out the next day and to arrange a delivery window. He'd gotten busy one day and just decided to change the procedure permanently. Oops number 1. It also came out that he wasn't adding delivery fees for longer runs. Under 10 miles was $25, 10-30 was $35, and 30 plus was per mile. He was charging the middle fee for everyone. The store actually made money on the deal as most people lived closer. Only on a rare occasion did we go farther. Oops number 2. But he built up a slush fund into his budget which failed when a development 40 miles from the store started ordering. They came to us as there were no closer stores yet. Is one now. They'd sold houses faster than their cabinet maker could ship. I made 10 trips one day. $500 worth. The dispatcher had only charged $350. Rather than increase the fee, he just decided to not record all our runs. Oops number 3. But we did. This one went right up to HQ. My boss stopped working for them immediately. I feel for the people who had paid for the deliveries we didn't make. Took 6 months of court to get our money, and the company had to pay our lawyers' fees. It was about that time they bought a pickup or 2 to rent at each store. Thank you. Next. Customer insults me in another language. Didn't realize I understood her. So I come from a Dutch background. I am nowhere near fluent in the language. But I know enough that I can pick up some words and understand a few sentences. So about 8 years ago, I was helping a customer needing some paint made. As I'm mixing it, her phone rings, and she answers it and begins speaking in Dutch. As she is talking, I can pick that she's telling whoever where they are. Then they say something along the line of "I have one of these dumb young workers mixing it." I say nothing. I decided to wait for the right moment as I mix her paint. As she continues talking, when her paint is done, I hand her can of paint to her. She says thank you, and I say in Dutch "You're welcome. Goodbye." She froze, her mouth open, and then says "You speak Dutch?" I didn't want to let her on how little I actually knew, so I just simply said yup. She quickly darted for the cash area. It was very funny and rewarding. Thank you. Next. This crusty old man couldn't be patient and got arrested. Very minor backstory. I work at a small family-owned general goods-esque store that, despite being a tiny establishment, offers a delivery service for orders in a certain range. I live in a small town that is several miles away from anything of note, in England. Story. This guy who sounds at least in mid-50s calls our shop roughly a week ago to get a few things from our store for a home delivery. Keep in mind this guy lives at least a 45-minute round trip from our store, which is usually okay when people make large orders. This guy would repeatedly make tiny orders in the range of £15 to £20, making it not much worth our time or money to make the journey for this ungrateful shat. Given the circumstances of both this guy living very far away and making tiny orders, we would always file his orders at very low priority, meaning he would have to wait the longest for his delivery since there were always closer and larger orders to fulfill. Whenever I quoted him the time it would take for his order to get to him, you best damn well believe that if this order took more than 3 minutes than the time I quoted, I would receive a snotty follow-up call asking where his stuff was. This got annoying but was overall tolerable until he started messing with our delivery drivers when they were unfortunate enough to be given his order. He would pull stupid crap like taking ages to answer his door when my driver arrived. I'm talking like 15 or 20 minutes he would have them waiting. Then he started acting like he couldn't afford to pay my driver when his order finally did arrive. Keep in mind this fool lived on some 5-acre gated property that overlooked a lake in his back garden, so he could absolutely afford to pay our drivers. I kept telling my boss about this, but for the longest while he stuck by business is business until he assaulted one of the drivers after he arrived about 35 minutes late after he got a flat tire driving down all the stupid gravel roads that led to his property. After this transpired, the customer had the audacity to call our store to complain about the lateness of the driver and that the driver had called him a manner of swear words after he was physically assaulted. He punched my driver in the head and torso a few times. So not only did this customer get barred and blacklisted from our shop, but he also found himself with a criminal record, although he couldn't be patient enough to wait half an hour. TL. Doctor, be patient kids and you won't end up with a criminal record. Thank you. Next. What I didn't say out loud. Well, if you could just give it back. Gas station attendant here. First time this was tried on me, but of course the bullying didn't work for obvious reasons. The other day, a sweaty, middle-aged man came in to buy $40 worth of gas with a $50 bill. Standard cash transaction. I take the money, program his gasoline to the pump and give him his change. At the pump, the customer can choose his grade of gas, then he'll get $40 worth of it. Nobody's ever had a problem with this before. That day, this guy comes back to my register and explains that he pushed the button for the more expensive, higher grade of gas, but he doesn't want to pay that much, so now he wants a refund. Wah? After I stop his pump from fueling. Yes, he left it pumping. I counter-explained that I can restart his pump and he can pick a cheaper grade of gas, but I can't give him a refund for what he has already used. To which, he gets mad and states, "Are you stupid? I don't want to pay that much, the lower grades are cheaper, so give me back the difference." "Oh, no sir, I can't do that." "Why not? There are no refunds on gas." I said, "I didn't want it. Give me back my money." Picture this conversation going on round in circles for about 5 minutes, whilst the customer gets rude and continues to call me stupid, because he wants a refund on gas he can't return. I do give him back his change, from the $40 he didn't use, but he takes that still calling me a stupid MF. Thank you. Next. Not my job today. I have mentioned before that I work in a mid-size East Coast regional grocery store. We have employees whose only job is to bag the customer's grocery items. We also have 2 employees during the morning/afternoon and 2 employees during the afternoon/evening whose main function is to shop for customers based off a list that comes down to the store by an outside company. If there are no orders to shop, these employees bag for cashiers that don't happen to have a bagger, take over registers if the cashier needs to use the bathroom, give breaks, and generally are at the beck and call for customers' needs. It is not often that there are breaks between shops, however, because of the situation the world is going through and that a lot of people are still hesitant to go into stores, and because a shop is considered the priority of the position if that is where you are assigned, then it is rare that both shoppers are on a register, but there have been a few times when one shopper is breaking a cashier while the other is bagging, even if only for a few minutes. There is one bagger who, because she has worked there for close to 10 years, believes that she has the authority to tell everyone what to do. In reality, she has been written up and even suspended from working an entire week's shift for telling other employees what to do and how to do it, always giving the wrong information to customers and just generally being an awful employee. Today, I was assigned to be the shopper and was just wrapping up a shop. The other employee who was supposed to also be shopping was apparently running late, and so I was the only one there. Anyway, I am separating the items into their proper bags and placing them in the fridge, freezer or shelf areas, when I hear my name being screeched from across the front of the store. Me equals myself. OB equals obnoxious, loud, biatch. UC equals unhappy customer. Her unhappiness spilled out on the store manager, which I did not witness, but which I am told was epic. As equals annoyed supervisor. OB, hey ME, there's a customer on register 2. ME, I believe register 2 is closed. OB, then open it. I walked closer to register 2 and saw that the customer was just starting to put her items onto the belt. ME, to customer, I'm sorry but there is no cashier on that register. You see, she told me to come here. Points to OB. ME, again, I am sorry, but this register is closed. But, if you would like to give me about 30 seconds, I will get the supervisor who can help you. I then walked over to the supervisor's office door and knocked on it. As I did this, OB decided that she was going to again show her ignorance to what my assigned job was. OB, if it's closed, then open it. Customers come first before you doing nothing. ME, standing beside the OB and whispering so that UC couldn't hear, but which I later found out she kinda knew what I was saying. First, it isn't your job to tell me what to do. Second, I am not doing nothing, I am assigned to do the shops. Third, you can clearly see that the register is not open, hence the lane closed sign and the indicator light being off. Fourth, it isn't your responsibility or job to direct customers to other registers. Fifth, if you think that another register should be open, you get a supervisor to make that decision. As happens to come out of his office at that point and asks me why there is a customer standing at register 2 looking like she wants to pull out her hair. I ran down the situation and told the AS that I would open up the register for that one customer. However, I just got another notification that there is a shop. As said, it wouldn't matter because there isn't a till in the register and so customers couldn't be checked out there anyway. By this point, UC had lost her place in the line that she had originally been standing in and would also have been at the point of paying if she had stayed in that line. As brought UC over to the self-scan checkouts and proceeded to check her out over there. Meanwhile, I started on the new shop and as I was filling the list, another cashier came over to me and said that OB was getting yelled at by AS's supervisor for overstepping her job duties, telling other employees what to do and almost losing the store a customer. Apparently, UC took out her unhappiness on the store manager and stated that she almost left her entire cart at the register because her only reason for changing registers was that she thought OB was a cashier and was going to open the register. When she realized that OB wasn't even supposed to be telling customers to go to other lanes and she wasn't happy about losing her place in her original line, the store manager was even less happy that OB was, once again, overstepping her authority, which, by the way, is different from going above and beyond her job description when it is detrimental to a customer's experience. Thank you. Next. Lights off, door locked, are they open? Our store closed and about half an hour later I left the store with my team, locked the doors behind me and hung around in my car checking up on my phone. I see this man approach the door. I think nothing of it as all the lights are off. The hours are posted and most people figure it out in seconds. A couple minutes later I go to leave and see him on his phone while looking in the window. He hangs up his phone and is immediately back on it looking through. I roll down my window and call out, "Can I help you with anything?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I was calling to see if they're open." I let him know I'm the manager and we closed at 7. He seemed unsure and kept looking back at the store. Dude. Thank you. Next. Customers get trapped in the store because the closing announcements didn't apply to them, I guess. I'm a cashier at a shop in the UK that sells clothing and home goods. For some reason we've had a bit of an uptick in interesting customers ever since we reopened post-lockdown, so if you guys want more stories I have a couple more to share, but this one is probably my favorite so far. I tend to cover a lot of closing shifts, and a lot of the time I get to do the announcements to let customers know the store is closing. At 7:45, 7:50, and 7:55 I say, roughly, this is a customer announcement. The time in shop is X, and we are closing in Y minutes. Can all remaining customers please make their way to the checkout so that we can finalize your purchases before we close? Thank you. And at 8 the announcement goes, the time in shop is 8 o'clock and we are now closed. Can any remaining customers please make their way to the checkout so we can finalize your purchases? Basically, if you're in the shop after 7:45, it's pretty hard to miss the fact that we are in the process of closing up. On the day this incident occurred, all the shop floor colleagues got to leave right on the dot of 8 because they'd finished all their tasks for the night. So after we closed, there were only 3 of us in the shop. Me, my supervisor on checkouts, S, and my colleague, M, who was acting as the manager on shift. After I did the last closing announcement, we waited a couple of minutes in case any more customers appeared, finished cashing up the tills, and then M locked the shop and went to the cash office while S and I went to the warehouse to do some jobs there. By this point we had been closed for about 5-10 minutes. S and I have been in the warehouse for a couple of minutes sorting out returns when, suddenly, the warehouse door, which doesn't lock so people can get in and out easily with heavy cages, flies open, and a customer, accompanied by her 8-year-old son, pokes her head in. I'm like, hello? Because frankly my brain is refusing to process this situation a little bit, and the customer, honestly less stressed than I would be in this situation, goes, "Can somebody let us out please?" I call over to S, who's further back in the warehouse, and she asks me to call M, who has the keys and can let them out. The only phone that the cashiers have access to is at the checkouts on the other side of the shop, and I don't really want the customers to wander off again, so I go, "Okay, if you just follow me over to the checkouts, I'm going to call my manager on shift so that she can let you out." And this customer's face lights up, and she goes, "Oh, are the tills still open? Please bear in mind, it is 10 minutes after closing. This woman is actively trapped in the store. The shutters are down. There has been nobody on the shop floor, let alone at the checkouts, for several minutes. She had to go into an employees only area to get help. And now she thinks the checkouts are open and she can buy something." At this point I feel no obligation to be polite, and I'm honestly also just baffled, so I go, "No, there were actually several announcements letting you know the store was closing." "Oh, I know," she says. And at this point I feel such a boiling rage overtake me that all I can do without getting myself in trouble is shut up and walk over to the phone. The story wraps up pretty quickly after that. I call M, whose verbatim response to "Hi, there's some customers stuck in the store" is, "Oh, for fuck's sake." M lets them out, but not without also locking herself out of the cash office because she didn't bring those keys out with her in the rush to let these customers out. And I lie awake at night wondering how on earth I can make we are closed. Either come and pay now or get out of the store into a polite and professional closing announcements for future use.